woods where we landed, with 2 rows of nicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. We're in woods where we landed, with 2 rows of nicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. We're in woods where we landed, with 2 rows of nicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. We're in woods where we landed, with 2 rows of nicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. We're in woods where we landed, with 2 rows of nicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. We're in woods where we landed, with 2 rows of nicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. We're in woods where we landed, with 2 rows of nicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. We're in woods where we landed, with 2 rows of nicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. We're in woods where we landed, with 2 rows of nicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. We're in woods where we landed, with 2 rows of nicks to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie Hike, we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie high like we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Windward's where we landed. Till Rose are next to be commended. We're taking down all of those who oppose. Greasy Grove will soon be upon us. Katie high like we're sitting on the battle bus. We're closing in and we'll soon claim victory. Our aim never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now. Waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine.
Good evening, everyone. I am Brian Clements alongside Bob Clements, and tonight we have an incredible guest. We have Ryan Dotson, who has not only been a friend of mine for a long time, but has been a friend of yours for I
was a lot younger than I am today when Ryan and I met. So I remember his very first store I went to. It's improved quite a bit, Ryan, from when I started with you.
It's a little different now, yeah.
A lot different.
Yeah. But we are super excited to have Ryan on. Like Bob said, Ryan first met Bob, and I first met Ryan from the dealership side of things. But Ryan brings a very unique perspective into what it is to be an entrepreneur, because you not only have done outdoor power equipment, you've done real estate, you've done investments, you've done a lot of really, really cool things. And I think for everyone who watches tonight, what you're really going to learn is profit with a purpose, right? It's a playbook to a long-term win. It's not these quick turnovers. It's not, you have to put a lot of time, you have to put a lot of effort to create things. And I think one thing that Ryan is going to bring to our podcast tonight is going to be really like, how do you focus on the right thing? Because I know Ryan's spent a lot of time, and Ryan, I know you've spent a lot of time focusing on the outdoor power equipment, and it's one of those, had you spent that time, maybe focus on something else, maybe you'd be in a different place in your life. And that's something that, again, I'm excited to get that perspective. So thanks again for joining us, Ryan. We're, again, super excited, but why don't you go ahead and give everyone who is watching a little bit of information about who you are, where you kind of got started, a quick brief what you're doing now, and then we'll really dive into to this podcast.
Sure. Appreciate you having me, guys. It's excited to be here and share with everyone, and hopefully I can drop a couple of nuggets that helps some other business owners and investors and entrepreneurs in their journey.
Absolutely.
Started out on the grounds crew on a golf course when I was in high school, and kind of fell in love with the outdoors and the green industry. And, from there, after I graduated high school, started a lawn service and built that while I was at Ohio Wesleyan. I would schedule my classes so I could run home on the weekends and mow the yards. And by the time I graduated college, we had 5 mowing crews and 2 landscaping crews, and thankfully never had to build a resume. So
nice. Yeah. Well, and that's something, I mean, I resonate with that a lot, because that's kind of how I got started. I got started and got in a lot of trouble in school because I was too much of an entrepreneur for the school district. But grew a landscape business until Bob decided one day he wanted to pull me out of that landscape business and invite me to come work for the family company.
Yeah. Come to the dark side.
Yeah. Yes. Come to the dark side.
Yeah, that was a good move.
Yeah. I did enjoy landscaping. I will say it was a lot easier to stay in shape back then than it was now. And it's probably because my metabolism was also a lot better.
Absolutely. I can resonate with that for sure.
So So you started a landscape company when you graduated college. You had you said five landscape crews,
5
crews.
mowing and 2 landscape crews.
Okay. So you had 7 crews working for you. What was from that point? What was your next step? I mean, where did you go from there? Did you just like, I need more employees because they're so much
That's
fun?
exactly what it was.
No, that wasn't the fun part for sure. But our market in this was back in the 1990s, so it was at the beginning of the commercial equipment and zero turn boom
Okay.
that is still underway today.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a good local dealer. We're a smaller market.
Yeah.
We begged our local dealers to bring on a good commercial line, and nobody thought they could do any volume, and that led us to start our own dealership.
Okay.
So that's how we got in the outdoor power business. Was just simply to have access to good equipment for our lawn service.
Yeah. So you saw a need, right? Because you go, well, if I can't get good service and if I can't get the product that I need when I need it, in true entrepreneurial fashion, you say, well, I'll do it myself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I already know I'm going to have one customer.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and we were talking right before the podcast started, right? Luckily, that industry and our TV decided it wanted to change on us.
Well, that's
But you decided to go in probably to the easiest industry there is to start. So I'm going to let Bob talk to you a little bit about the dealership industry, and I'm going to fix this TV real quick.
and we had to switch out computers as Microsoft decided to update our other one, and it's currently at 12%. And it's been doing that for an hour. So yeah, Ryan, you and I met. You had started your dealership there, and as you and I were meeting, you were I don't know I don't think you were still in the landscaping side of the business at that time, were you, Ryan? Or were you? Did you still have your crews?
There was some both businesses until from 97 to 2005. So I think we'd probably exited by the time we brought you in. Both busy seasons hit at the same time, and I was either going to get out of one or die a young man.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. We have a lot of dealers that we still work with that started out like you did in the landscaping side of it. And for the same reason, we got a big one over in St. Louis. And like you, they were doing landscaping. They decided, I need better service. I need this. And then so they opened up a dealership, had 2 stores, decided that was stupid and went back to 1 and are making more money with 1 than they did with 2. But again, it's kind of the same thing. It was just a natural progression for them. It just made sense. They weren't getting good service. They didn't have the products they needed. And so Jason Caldwell just decided, I'm just going to do this thing and get it going from that standpoint. So, but again, it's kind of in an entrepreneur's bloodstream. You know, there's not a fear there of doing it. You had already, had a business going. You knew how to do it. You were confident in yourself. I mean, when I met you for the first time, you were running like a crazy man. And it's kind of odd because typically as an entrepreneur, it's an 8 to 5 job and you get the weekends off and things like that. So that was a little odd, but anyway, so I don't know how many hours you think you were working in the beginning, Ryan, to get this, to get American Pride up and going.
I worked a whole lot of hours to lose a whole lot of money. We made every mistake in the book and dug a big hole, and I knew nothing about, retail or brick and mortar, and proved it every step of the way. But that's how you learn. I mean, you don't learn these sort of things in college,
Right?
But you learn by making mistakes and fixing them. And we spent the first 5 years digging a hole, and the next 5 years digging out with help from you and just experience.
Yeah, well, you had a good crew when I was there. I can't remember who your service manager was at that time, but anyway, I do remember that your shop was in the lower part and your sales department was up in the upper part, and you had everything packed pretty tight. I don't think there was any more you could get in that physical location.
No, it was pretty. We used all the nooks and crannies.
Yes, you did.
Well, and that's what you've got to do, right? It's as an entrepreneur, when you're doing that, when you're starting something up, is you're constantly finding those places where, it's like, okay, I can do a little bit more here. And whether that's physical location or whether that's, your time or your people, is saying, how can I pack a little bit more into this without cracking the foundation? I mean,
Right.
because that's when it comes down to it, if you don't have that foundation, it's pretty hard to be successful. But one of the things that you were talking about, and I think that every entrepreneur that we've had on as a guest, everybody who's thinking about being an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter, where you start. We've talked about, if everything failed for you today, Bob, you could go out and start a brand new business because the process of building a business.
Exactly.
Ryan, the same way for you is if you had to, you could go out and start another business. But the reality of it is, yes, you've got all the answers, but tying back into what Mike and Cass say, you're still going to shovel a lot of shit.
You are.
Yeah,
I don't care if you start a new business. There's a lot of, to Mike and Cass' point, a lot of shit you have to shovel.
Yeah.
But you also, I think, and Ryan, I think you would agree that that there's an end to it.
Yeah.
Right? When you're in the beginning and you've never shoveled shit, you're going like, God, is this horse ever going to die?
Yeah.
Right. But you get to a point where you kind of go, okay, I'm going to go through 24 months of agony and hell, but that's okay because I know at the end of 24 months or whatever that time frame is, because you've been there before.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I see a lot of entrepreneurs that I work with, younger guys, going like, will this ever end? And I go, it will. It's going to take more than 5 years for you to be an Elon Musk. So get that out of your head, but you just have to keep doing it. And Ryan, to your point, we've all dug holes, deep ones, right, that we had to fill back in.
Yeah.
As we were going through it, I always tell people I'd love to have all the money that I made from the mistakes that I did.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot, but you have to make them. You have to take the risk. And I think that's the thing with entrepreneurs that are real entrepreneurs. They understand that the risk really is all about their confidence. And, and once you've had success, you no longer have a lack of confidence.
Oh, absolutely.
You say, okay, I can make this thing happen.
Yeah. I've done it once. I can do it again.
Absolutely.
And, but again, it takes lots of time. I mean, and so Ryan, looking back on all of the time, specifically with American Pride, like what have been some of like those aha, like you're so proud, like this is the moment that's kind of pushed you into doing what you're doing now? Was there something in American Pride that as you built that has pushed you into everything that you're doing now with real estate and with positivity, and we'll go into what those are kind of as we get there. But was there something in this current business and that outdoor power equipment sales, service, parts side of things that has pushed you, that you go, this was an incredible win and it pushed you to do something more? Or was it just a kind of a natural progression for you?
It was a very long progression, but that, even I think at the point we were still digging the hole, we had at our Christmas dinner one year, we said we wanted to be the one of the best outdoor power equipment stores in the world. Our market was weak, and we thought, we had already achieved that milestone and within our market. So that didn't feel like a big enough goal. And we just wanted to be, because, you have experiences as a customer at other retail establishments.
Right.
Yeah.
And you want to do better than what you're feeling when you're out shopping for stuff.
Yeah.
And you want to provide a better experience where you don't feel pushed or shoved into something or not cared about, or so, it was really about taking care of the customer and giving them that awesome experience. And so that, because your number one source of business is word of mouth. You can spend whatever you want on advertising, but 90% of your sales comes from word of mouth. The other 8% comes from location, and then 2% is what you spend $100,000 a year on an advertising.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
You just broke a lot of marketing people's hearts. I want you to know that.
we still do it, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's clear to us where it comes from, because that, your customers tell you, they come in and, their brother, their mom, their son, their neighbor, whoever was here and said how great it was and said we should come here. So
That's great.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And I was talking to a dealership owner, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And he's like, man, I'm just not getting, he wasn't getting any referrals. He was having a hard time getting people to refer because he was a small dealer in a big market. And I asked him, I said, well, do you give someone a hat when they buy a unit? And he goes, well, no, why would I give them a hat? I said, because that right there will gain you a referral. He goes, a $20 hat? I said, 100%. That $20 hat will gain you so much. And if they have a son or a daughter who comes in, and if you give them a $20 hat too, I said, everyone they know will hear about you. And it's amazing because, what kind of marketing would you get for $40 that's going to compare to that? So, I mean, and one of the things too, you said, so 8% is that location, right? And I know that you went from a smaller location when Bob was there, right? I didn't see that location. I was probably still landscaping at that point. And to the location that you have now. And I know that location that you have now, first off, it's a great location. You are still a little landlocked to some extent, but you've done some pretty incredible things. And I would love to show our viewers at some point.
They need to go to American Pride on the website. Take a look at Ryan's location.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's incredible. And you can't miss it driving down the highway. That's for sure. So, but moving locations, like, was it first off difficult to make the decision to move locations? And second off, how did you decide on the location that you decided on? And was it a good bet on the location wise and the real estate side? Ugh, I can't speak. But was it a good bet on that? Or would you have changed something if you look back and say, okay, I have to pick a whole new location again? Would you have changed what you did when it came to that?
No. And I mean, there's, luck plays a part, and we got incredibly lucky with the location we're at now. It was the YMCA before, and it's right in the middle of town. And it's a very unique spot because it's in a little fishbowl bordered by the interstate, an on-ramp and an off-ramp. So it's really hard to get that kind of exposure.
Yeah.
Really anywhere. So it's a fantastic location, and the number of 8% is low. I mean, it's really probably a good bit higher than that because it's given our location and our unique market in that to the east and south of us, there's not a lot of high density population, but there is a lot of large acreage estates. So we have a 80-mile radius that we serve, 60 all the way around us, but 80 to the east and south. And so we're just incredibly lucky with the location. While it is landlocked, there's 3.5 acres, and we can do, all the volume we really need to out of that. I
think your strategy has been, if you can't go out, you go up, right?
Right.
Because you also own all the air above those 3.5 acres.
That's right. we made the most of the air with our latest building.
Absolutely.
It's a parking garage for mowers, and so we have a 4-story parking garage that we store units in that has been an incredible addition to the property, and also a landmark in the area that people like to talk about.
Yeah. Well, and again, like I said, it's really hard to miss. And if you guys get a chance, go to Ryan's website. For anyone who's watching the recording, I'll make sure that I link his website so you can watch this. But Ryan, if you don't mind, tell them what your website is real quick, so that anybody can go there. But again, I'll link it for the recording for anybody who's watching this back. And I know we've got quite a few people. We've got quite a few people on TikTok and stuff. I think 3,600 people right now. So
Cool.
yeah. Yeah.
And they're all in Zanesville, Ohio. That's
Looking for a mower.
That's kind of the cool part about it. Right?
Yeah.
They got cash in their pocket and they're wanting to spend it.
Yeah.
AmericanPridePower.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys get a chance, and whether you're actually in, the outdoor power equipment industry, if you're a dealer, one of Bob's dealers, if whether or not you're in that, I encourage every entrepreneur to go and look at what Ryan has built and understand that this wasn't a 5-year process, right? This has been years and years and years of hard work and time and money and sweat and sleepless nights and, having to deal with Bob all the time. I mean, I've been doing it for.
Yeah. Ryan was my 401k plan. I just wanted to
so, but
so I also cheat with Ryan because every time I have a young dealer, especially if they're in his area anywhere, and they go like, well, can this really work? And I go, I need you to go to Zanesville.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And if Brian's available, I want you to talk to him. I think you talked to Matthias there not too long ago with Sheplers. But I always encourage him. And I said, Ryan is somebody you need to talk to.
Yeah.
You're a young entrepreneur, right? You need to talk to a seasoned entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And let him show you that this really is a good business to
Yeah.
be in. So I think you did meet with Matthias, I believe.
Yep. Anybody, happy to help. I mean, we had lots of help when we first started. Outside of you guys, I mean, we first visited Weingart's.
Yeah.
And Ray was nice enough. I didn't even have the store open yet, and he spent an hour with me, and I'll never forget that. But Ray was the godfather of outdoor power equipment.
Oh, absolutely.
And so he was nice enough to share everything that he could to help a young kid get started. And naturally, we proceeded to still make every mistake in the book. But it was great to get to spend time with him and something that if I can help, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah. Well, and I think that goes back to every episode that we've ever had that we've talked about is if you are an entrepreneur and you are struggling, there is not an entrepreneur out there who is not willing to give you some advice. They've been in your shoes. They've walked that mile. They've shoveled that shit. And they are willing to say, you know what? I might not be able to give you a whole day, but I can give you an hour or shoot me an email and let me respond. I mean, I send Ryan emails. I sent him an email. I think it was yesterday about
how do I get rid of my dad?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I get him out of my hair?
Yeah. 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 Well, it's easier to get you out of my hair now because I just don't have as much as I used to. But no, with that, like just a question about website stuff. I mean, if you again look at Ryan's website, it's done really, really well. And for what we're building, I've had so many conversations with Ryan. I respect him so wholeheartedly as an entrepreneur that he was one of the first people that I actually ever really approached about Triton software and what we're building and just to get his insight first off. And he's become such a great partner on that. But going back to that is, again, if you are an entrepreneur and you're struggling with something, or if you've got questions, find an entrepreneur. They're going to help you. We're all in this together. And it's an incredible community that I think gets separated way too much.
And I always tell my young entrepreneurs, listen, shut up. Don't argue with the entrepreneur that's super successful.
Yeah.
And just do what they tell you to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just shut up. Don't argue. Right.
Yeah.
Don't say, well, you don't understand, Ryan.
Yeah.
My area of Ohio is different than yours. Right? You don't get it.
Yeah.
I go, yeah. Zanesville is like every other part of Ohio. So, but I always laugh and they go like, well, yeah, but I can't really use those ideas because my area is different. Yeah. Okay. You're going to fail.
Yeah.
That's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You might as well cash out now, save your money.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
Brian, you asked about the progression, and that's definitely part of it is, in your teens and your 20s, you know it all. Nobody can tell you anything. And I started the businesses the lawn service in my teens and the power equipment store in my 20s. And I thought I knew it all. And I knew nothing, right? So in your 30s, you kind of start to wake up. And
Yeah.
then in your 40s, you finally can say, because of history and experience, I don't know shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've got there Isaac Newton said, what we know is a drop, what we don't know is an ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a little acronym we use at the shop, ABI plus ABL plus ABI equals ABS, which is always be learning, always be improving, and you will always be succeeding.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I mean, and I think you've taken that into, the other, ventures that you've been kind of going in. Is I know that you really been focusing kind of on the real estate side of things. I mean, if you don't mind, like, to you, is real estate where it's at? Like, if you could go back to your younger self, would you still have built a dealership, or would you have maybe invested in real estate? We've got entrepreneurs out here, and I know that, everyone's like, okay, well, I've got X amount of dollars. Okay. Sometimes you have to just start with what you can start with, whether it's a, trading card game for educational purposes, at 17, that's a good place to start.
Right.
Some people, they start off, we've got a lot of our followers start off as just streamers, like trying to build, first off, reoccurring revenue that can support your life. But let's say you get to that point where you can now start reinvesting. Would you, if you were to reinvest in yourself at a younger age, would you have gone forward with the dealership, or do you think that there would have been something else that you would have focused on?
Well, I mean, it's funny and it's easy to say, look, if I had all the hours I put in this, if I put it in something else, I could have been, more successful. But you do have to start somewhere, and you start with what you know, and initially you have to go all in. You give it everything, and then you have to reinvest before you can take funds out to do other things.
Right.
Now, having said that, real estate, I love, and I think it's a fantastic investment, and it's made more millionaires, I think, than any other profession, period. And it's an excellent inflation hedge.
Yeah, absolutely.
So hard assets and real estate, land, timber, gold, silver, uranium, whatever, is what you want to be in when you're in inflationary times. And we're never not in inflationary times. It's just to what degree.
Right. Exactly.
And the government says we have 3-4% inflation, but as consumers, we know it's probably 2 to 3 times that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we buy stuff and we know, hey, this costs double what it did 5 years ago, not 5 or 6 or 8% more, but
like eggs.
Right.
I don't think eggs will ever come down from their inflation rate, which is great, because I have chickens and I don't have to necessarily go buy eggs. But
they say when you stop killing chickens, they start laying eggs again.
So
you can't wipe out 200 million chickens and not have egg prices go.
That's
called the supply and demand, I believe. That was my economic class.
That's right.
Well, I mean, that happened even with COVID, when all of a sudden, Ryan, you were through the whole COVID thing, and I know everybody hates to hear me say this, but I said, boy, COVID was the best thing that happened to the industry, Ryan, that you and I play in, right? And if we could have it again, it'd be great. I'd like to see it happen again. I don't want the shutdowns, but but it did screw up the supply chains pretty bad. We're still dealing with that side of it there. But it's a part of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like Ryan was saying, it's, making those outside investments. And for those who are watching, I mean, I know that we have some people who are watching that massive entrepreneurs, someone whose name starts with a Gary is on here, and he probably doesn't need any of our advice.
Probably not.
But
I'm sure he's taking notes.
Yeah,
I'm sure Gary's taking notes right now.
Yeah, of what not to do. No. Anyways, but with those kind of things being said, is Ryan, and this is a question, from me, and maybe some of our followers too, is if you were to start investing, say in real estate or something like that, like how would someone who doesn't have their whole life together, who's just trying to kind of get started maybe in real estate, like, do you have any advice for someone who goes, I want to start dabbling in that? Do I go buy a whole apartment complex? Like I'm me, myself, I'm going to go buy a 500 unit apartment complex. Am I going to be successful?
Probably not the thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to see who you get the funding from.
Yeah.
That's the first piece of a 500 apartment.
Yeah. Well, it's vacant. Half of it's full of asbestos, but I got a good deal on it.
No deal.
Yeah.
So
put your mask on, clear out the asbestos, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Most people have to start, bootstrapping because they don't have a lot of cash. So a common way to start in real estate is, a couple ways. One, buy a duplex or a triplex.
Mm-hmm.
You live in one, rent the other one or two, and you either have no payment or most of it's, and then you save the money, and then you buy another one, and maybe the next one is a house, and that's another way to start. You buy a house and house hack. 3-4 bedroom spot, and you rent the other 3 bedrooms. And just it's a progression. My dad bought a duplex with a granny house in the back, and he lived in the granny house and rented the duplex, and that paid for the whole thing. And that's how I got started, was when I bought that from him, and 06, 07, somewhere in there, and slowly grew.
So it's taking those. So a college, let's say a college kid, right? He's going out. He's got to have a place to live. Wants to live off campus, right? Has the ability, maybe because of his parents, or maybe he's got a really good credit score, and it's like, okay, you know what? I've got a decent job coming into college. I'm going to buy my own place. He right then can start his real estate investment career. And I think that's something that's really cool, because you can, without having to have millions of dollars worth of capital, you can become a quote unquote real estate investor and start building your portfolio that way. And
I think everybody, it always starts small.
Yeah.
Nobody starts out big unless you happen to have parents that have billions and billions of dollars and go, here you go, good luck.
Right.
So everybody, Ryan, that's how I started. I grew up on a dairy farm. Right? My parents they didn't have any money.
Yeah.
We lived a good life, but you start out, you leverage credit cards, whatever you have to leverage, right? So I can make that payment next month, but I can't if I don't make this payment. I tell people, everybody's gone through this stuff. I think some people, they say like, well, have you ever experienced that? And go like, have I ever written a check that I couldn't cash? Sure. I have done that before. Right. Yeah. I needed to write the check, but I wasn't in a position because I had to make payroll, or things like that. There's just things that you go through as an entrepreneur, that I think sometimes people don't think about that stuff. But anybody that's been successful as an entrepreneur has gone through a whole lot of, go back to Cass and Mike, a whole lot of shit to get there. The thing you're trying to do is say, maybe I could talk to like a Ryan or a Gary Vee or Mike and Cass. Maybe I don't have to, you're still going to shovel some.
Yeah, absolutely.
But maybe I don't have to shovel as much. And again, I always tell people, shut up, take their advice, do what they say, right? And you're going to be fine, because no entrepreneur is going to lie to you.
Yeah.
Every entrepreneur out there you talk to is going to go, man, I don't want you to go through the crap that I had to go, I had to go through. You're still going to go through some of it, but let me give you a life vest here and help you out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the key is like I said, is with all of Unplugged, Unfiltered, and having Ryan on, having Cass and Mike, having Seth, Anthony, all of the guests that we've had on here, it's again, we're a community. And what we're talking about, right, is you see stuff on social media. And one of the things, when I was excited to talk to Ryan about real estate, because you see on social media, it's like, oh, Grant Cardone, get into real estate. You're going to make billions of dollars. You're going to do this. It's not going to be tough. Life's going to be great. Like, you just need to do this. And you see that over and over and over. It's like, just invest in this. But sometimes you have to start off like, okay, I got a duplex, or I bought a house. It's got 4 rooms. I'm renting 3 of the 4. And it's not just this like you said, explosion of excitement. I mean, it's an explosion of excitement because you're kind of going like, oh shit, what did I get myself into? But you have to make those sacrifices. You have to put in that effort and you have to put in that time to become or get to a point that you can go, hey, shit, I actually did it.
Well,
You know?
and I'm with Ryan. I mean, real estate's, to me, from an investment standpoint, is the best place you can go, because as my father told me, God only made X amount of land.
Yeah.
They ain't never going to be any more. Right.
Yeah.
And there's more and more people that want it. So you have this natural, do it. We have properties down at Lake of the Ozark down there. And I mean, it's exciting to me because there's just there's no more lakeshore.
Yeah.
It's coming up there, and they just keep going. I know, Ryan, you've got properties all over with it, but it's a good investment, but you still have to start someplace.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like Ryan, you start where you can start at and start small, but
yeah,
time is the key word there, because it takes time, and but it's a get rich slow thing, but it's almost if you don't push too hard too fast, it's almost a guaranteed.
Absolutely.
7 of the last 8 recessions, the average price of real estate went up.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the Great Recession, at least people that went through it, but 07, 08 was the one where, and even then the prices came back, and they're way ahead of where they were in 06, 07 in most markets. So
yeah.
And one of the power, testimony to the power of real estate is I used a group of properties to get a line of credit. Initially, that was a $500,000 line. I needed some more credit because that is how you grow your real estate portfolio.
Yeah.
Leverage. And so I went back to the bank, and I figured that I would have to add properties that I bought with that initial line to get the other 500,000 that I wanted to expand that line of credit to $1 million. Well, the banker, after the appraisal, said we didn't have to add a single property. Those same 5 properties you got a $500,000 line with now support $1 million line.
Oh, wow.
All the because of appreciation, the tenants that are paying the rent are paying the the debt down. And it's magical.
It is.
It is.
And again, like you said, it's time, right? It takes the time to do that. And you mean COVID, right? We all saw what COVID did to the housing market. I mean, it took houses that were $100,000 and now made them $600,000.
Right.
I will say the other thing and I was talking to Tori the other night about this, and I was like, if I could go back 5 years, I would have invested a lot of money right outside of Bozeman, Montana, on ranches, because after Yellowstone, I don't know if you have seen how much some of those ranches, it's like 1,800 acres with a porta potty or an outhouse on it, $70 million. I'm like, we just need to do Yellowstone. So next project, we're going to film a Yellowstone based in Missouri, where we travel from Missouri to Ohio. And then,
well, we did do a show called Ozarks, but it was gang and mob related. Although it's pretty true, because every time my wife and I go down, they go like, that has to be somebody that is flushing cash through, because there's no way you can make money with what they're doing. But there's got to be a lot of cash that goes through there. So, so we were watching that. So that, they did do a show on Ozarks, but it wasn't quite like Yellowstone.
Yeah, that'd be like, being having a show filmed like Breaking Bad. It doesn't really drive the right attention to your area.
Yeah, absolutely.
So moving on kind of from the real estate, and I know I don't want to say we're running out of time by any means. We can go as long as we want to. That's the perk of it being our podcast. But I want to kind of move on. So with what you have created, right? And there's always been a purpose, right, to this long-term win, but you are now starting to do more with this long-term win I mentioned it, is with positivity. And I really want to bring up this positivity because what you're doing there, it sounds incredible. And so I would love for you to kind of explain to us what positivity is and what you're doing with that, how you're involved with it. Because again, I think it's a really cool thing that you guys are doing.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So Positivity is a microlending company, and they marry lenders with borrowers, and the borrowers are in Kenya.
Okay.
And they do 30-day loans from $500 to $500. I found the company at a real estate conference last year in Dallas called Limitless. Kim McElroy, he's got 10,000 rental units and $3 billion in assets under management. He puts on a really cool real estate conference with Taro Yarbert and Robert Kiyosaki, and RFK spoke there last year. So it was a fantastic conference with lots of good speakers and conferences. But one of the options was to attend this session for positivity, and I went and heard their pitch, and it was super exciting because you're paid handsomely to be a lender, and it also has a strong community impact in Kenya because I mentioned we take access to capital for granted here in the United States. We've got banks on every corners and lending institutions and buy now, pay later, and all of that, where lots of parts of the world are underbanked or no banks. So it's hard to grow a business without debt.
Right.
I mean, even credit cards. Like I built the lawn service and started the power equipment store on, because that's all. No bank wanted to give an 18 or 26-year-old six figures to go sell mowers or mow grass. So had to start with the credit cards. But even that was, in hindsight, a blessing because it's access to capital. So anyway, in lots of parts of the world, microlending, microfinance has played a huge role in bridging the gap for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises to be able to borrow, go get the goods they need. Think street vendors. Go get the goods they need for that day or that week, and go sell their stuff and pay off the loan and borrow again. So and it's incredibly high tech. It's all done by an app. They do about 38,000 loans a day.
Oh wow,
that's crazy.
So lots of cool positive social impact over there, and then lenders here. There's Positivity is not the only micro lending company. There's a whole bunch of them, but most of them are funded by private equity. But Positivity went the private investor route, so they raise funds through private investors like me, and you and whoever else, and they, instead of having to give PE 78% of their business in return for a big check, they reward their investors handsomely. And if anybody wants to know more about that, they can reach out to me, and I can even hook you up with their VP. You can do a whole episode on them alone if you want.
That'd be pretty exciting.
That would be. I mean, that would be really cool, and it's awesome because I did a exclusive. It was just on TikTok, because I will say with TikTok, we have a lot of people who watch TikTok. We have a lot of people who comment on TikTok, but when I'm doing the podcast, I don't really have the ability to sit here and respond to all of these comments. Like, it's people are liking, and I appreciate all the likes, and I appreciate everything that you guys are doing on TikTok, but I don't get that opportunity to respond to them. And so I decided, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe it was 3 weeks ago, before our podcast, I just did a straight just TikTok podcast where I could actually engage with my TikTok audience. And one of the people who is part of my TikTok following, she runs a travel agency business in Nigeria. And she was talking about, she was like, one of the biggest things that we're struggling with is funding. And I said, well, what does it take for you guys, like, just to operate for a week. Like, she's like, I just try to make it for a week. And she's like, well, for us to operate for a week, it's about $50. And then you look at it and you go, good. Like, that's, and it's crazy. But the fact that she can't get access, and she is, and I've seen her, and she was showing me everything that she did. And we had this long conversation. And I've had a conversation with her since then, just to say, how can I help as an entrepreneur? As it's like, okay, maybe I can give you some advice of where to go look. And the more I've dug into it, it's like you said, there's no one in Nigeria that they can go and do this, but there's such demand and there's such a need for it. And again, we 100% take what we have for granted here, because it's incredible. So I think it's a really incredible thing. I would love to just personally dig into that deeper with you, Ryan, on my side of things. And then, of course, anybody who is on the podcast would love to, if you guys want to get connected with Ryan, in the description of this podcast, you can always send us a message, info@unpluggedunfiltered.com. We can make sure that we get everyone connected with the right people. We'll put a link to Positivity's website too in the description, so you can always go back, check that out if you want to get involved, or we can get you connected with Ryan. So super incredible.
We don't care where you are an entrepreneur at, what part of the world. Right?
No, we don't.
So we're all here to help entrepreneurs do what they do.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I will say, on our TikTok side of things, I have a lot of people from the Asian companies, or countries. I have a lot of people from Africa, a lot of people from, honestly, I have a lot of people from Spain who tune in, a lot of you people from the UK. Entrepreneurship and what we're talking about doesn't apply just to America. Now, there's differences, right? I mean, what we have access to, what works the best for us, here in the United States might not be the exact same, but all it's going to be is a little tweak, other than maybe Nigeria or, Kenya, something like that. There's some additional hurdles that you have to go over there, but we're here for everybody. I mean, our goal is to reach a global scale of entrepreneurs and encourage every single one of you to chase that dream, because you work like a dog. You don't ever sleep. You're exhausted. You lose 90% of the time, but as an entrepreneur, that's all you want to do. Like I wake up every day and be like, well, I'm ready to shovel some shit again because I love it. It's what drives me, and it's what my passion is. And so, I'm super excited. First off, again, Ryan, thank you. And we'll start kind of wrapping things up here. But super excited to have you on, and what you've done for me personally, with Triton, what the relationship, our friendship has been incredible. And I would love to have you back on again, at some point. But I want to, before we kind of end this and before we fully wrap this up, I'm going to ask you a couple quick bonus round questions. You are our first person. These are our quick hits. Lease or buy? Lease or buy? If you have the money, lease or buy?
Buy.
Buy. Okay. Startup or side hustles? One solid startup or multiple side hustles?
Solid startup first before the side hustles.
Okay. Cash.
He's not getting rid of the side hustles.
I know. He's like, well, we'll get that.
Kind of the side hustles are fun.
Yeah, they are. Cash flow or equity?
Cash flow.
Okay. And then real estate or micro lending?
Real estate.
Okay. So anyways, we wanted to do some fun quick hits right there at the end, and just kind of, it's to get those kind of, okay, do I lease, do I buy? If you're buying for a dealership location, if you have the ability, do you lease it or do you buy it? If you can buy it, should you buy it or should you just lease it? So it's just kind of those questions. But wrapping up, Bob, I mean, you have anything?
Not at all. Number one, like I said, I've known Ryan for a long time. And Ryan, if you get a chance, go to his website.
Absolutely.
I know Trump thought he put up a big flag. Ryan's had a flag that big forever. So anyway,
and I think Ryan has another flag that can be seen pretty well from space. If I'm not.
So anyway, so you owe it to yourself to go to Ryan's website. We'll get that information up there. Like I say, Ryan is an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. He's shoveled a ton of shit in his life. He's done it.
Yeah.
He stayed with it. And I think one of the things that Ryan said, and you were talking about, not all things translate to all countries, but Ryan's philosophy has always been, it's all about the customer first.
Absolutely. Ryan
takes care of his customers. His customers are raving fans of his.
100%.
I mean, that's what built Ryan's business. And I'm sure it still builds it today. And I think, again, regardless whether you're in wherever you're at in the world, wowing your customer, like what Ryan does with his customers, that's the key to it. You could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing, but if you suck at taking care of your customers, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to buy from you, right? You spend your time and your energy and money and build those customer relationships. And I know Ryan well enough to know that that's how Ryan has built his business on wowing customers when they come there.
Absolutely.
Appreciate all your help over the years with processes and systems and advice and all the great stuff for our employees. And
well, we've enjoyed it, and a lot of the advice was bad advice. I know you're not aware of it, but
you were actually the first person to ask him a lot of those questions.
Let's see if Ryan will bite on this. If it is, we're going to go. So no, we've had a great relationship.
Yeah, no, and again, Ryan, I appreciate your time on here. It's been a blast of a podcast. And anybody, again, if you guys have questions for us, if you have questions for Ryan, reach out to us, info@unplugged&unfiltered.com. You can go to unplugged&unfiltered.com and see all of our past episodes. Again, if you click on the description for this podcast, we'll be able to get you in contact with Positivity. We'll make sure that Ryan's website is on there. And anyways, this has been an incredible.
Welcome to put my email on there too. Ryan at AmericanPridePower.com.
Perfect. Yeah, and we'll get his email up there. You're probably going to get a lot of spam.
He's always working for that next customer. I know what he's doing here.
Yeah. And he goes, if you happen to be in Zanesville, Ohio, I've got really good on the.
Hey, well, if you're in Zanesville, number one, you'll see his place, but number two, you need to just stop by and see it. Right?
Absolutely.
Ryan's building incredible business.
It is. Yeah, it's truly incredible what he's built. And again, I admire what Ryan's done. I listen to what Ryan says. I shut the hell up and I do it.
That's good for you. He would never do that for me, Ryan. So I appreciate you helping me out there.
But the thing is in Ryan, and I know this is me starting to ramble a little bit, but one of the first emails that I ever sent Ryan when it came to the software company, he goes, well, this is my advice. It might be completely wrong, so you don't have to listen to it. He goes, but this would be my advice. And it's one of those like, well, I've been doing this for a long time. I maybe haven't done that part of it, but here's my advice. It could be right. It could be wrong, but it's that honesty. And that's something that I love about a true entrepreneur. It's like, well, shit, I don't know, but let's put our heads together. We can figure something out. Right. Yeah, and that's the honest, the true, the community that you get from incredible entrepreneurs like yourself, like Bob. And, hopefully one day I'll be in that realm of you guys. So, but with that, I appreciate everybody. You guys have been incredible. Everybody who's been here, all of the comments, all of the likes, you guys are incredible. So, but with that, we are going to go ahead and unplug, and we will see you all next time on Unplugged Unfiltered. Ryan, thank you again, and we will talk to you very soon.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Never disappoint, so we have coincidentally stumbled on a legendary. Wait until they see us now, waiting for the opportune time to show them this new power of mine. When words is where we landed, we're 2 rows and next to be